Hello everyone, welcome to Tea Time. I am in Portugal this week and I have Peaches the cat here with me. No horses this late in the evening, but I wanted to do my tea time a day later than usual. So I know a lot of people will catch this on the replay, but here's to consistency. I thought I would talk today about challenges. This is something that's been coming up in my clinics that we've been having some great conversations about. And this is a conversation that's really interesting when it comes to freedom. Because if you challenge your horse too much, they leave. They will not stay with you if you challenge them too much, unless you have control of their food or control of their friends. Horses really do choose how much challenge they're comfortable taking on. Now, why do we need to talk about challenges? The reason I think we need to talk about challenges is that they happen whether you want them to or not. They happen whether you plan on them or not. So first, I guess let's define a challenge. For me, a challenge in your relationship with your horse is anything that causes too much push or pull. You can say it in more extreme terms, that would be too much fight or flight. But in subtle terms, what makes you and your horses want to push against each other or pull away from each other in a way where harmony gets really difficult? Now, a lot of people don't need to think about this because they have a halter and a lead rope and they can really manage whatever push or pull happens. Hey Joe, I'm glad you made it to Tea Time Live. So when we talk about challenges, we're talking about things that cause a lack of harmony in the relationship. And when you have a bridle or you have a halter or you're in a round pen, you can manage a certain amount of challenge because the horse can't leave. Once we're in freedom, that gets a lot more difficult. So if you end up getting in any push and pull relationship with your horse, you start wondering if they're going to leave, particularly if you're in a really big pasture and there's no fences. So it's really tempting to have a halter or have food rewards or have some sort of system to manage those push and pull feelings. But in freedom, we take all of that away. So we take away the ability to control the horse when they want to leave, control the horse when they push into you too much. Then, once we take away those, the tendency is everybody wants to be really careful. They want to avoid situations where their horse gets irritated or scared or pushes or pulls because you don't want to lose them. So, Rebecca, yes, absolutely. Get some wine. Join me for tea time. It's evening in Europe. Wine is perfectly acceptable. I'm glad you're here from Austria. So, we've been talking a lot in my last two clinics in Germany and then here again in Portugal about challenges. When we choose a challenge, something with our horse that might cause a little bit of push or pull, then we get an opportunity to fix it. So let me give you a concrete example. If I ask my horse to back up and they go forward instead, they've pushed into me. We now are in a challenge. They are pushing into me. I was hoping they would back up. We have a disagreement. I coach people through this. So what do you do if that happens? Well, you could push harder, but is it going to help? Is it going to work? Horses are bigger than us. They're stronger than us. And we probably asked at the wrong time if they're going to push into us instead of back up like we asked. So what do we do with that? So what I suggest is people have a bit of advance and retreat to their plan. So you'll walk around the space, wait till the horse settles, and then think to yourself, if I ask again, is it going to get better or is it going to get worse? If it might get better, try again. And you're either right or you're wrong. If it gets worse, well, then you shouldn't have asked again, but you didn't know that because none of us can read the future. So we go through this process where we think, well, should I put my hands in a different position? Should I talk to them when I put my hands on them? Should I wait until after their neck is a little bit more relaxed before I ask them? Should I wait until their friend is not standing behind them before I ask them? How would I set this up for success? Or do I just need to reset? Reset, take a breath, and start again. So what I teach people is the best time to reset is when your horse is showing some sort of curiosity in something. It doesn't have to be you, but they have some sensory experience with their eyes or their ears or their sense of smell or their sense of feeling. And that's a really good place to reset. Take a pause, take a breath, and then start again. And how you start again really has a lot to do with whether you think you can improve the situation or not. If you ask them to back up now, would it be better? Or are you just going to make it worse? If you're going to make it worse, don't do it or cut it in half. So what's half a backup? Half of a backup would be something like, can I rock their weight a little bit without causing them to step forward? If that's too much, what's half of rocking their weight a little bit? That's going to be maybe rocking their skin left and right on their chest. Can I rock their skin left and right on their chest without causing them to push forward? If I can't do that, can I stroke their chest a little bit without having them barge forward? If I can't stroke their chest, could I go near their chest and then leave before they barge forward? So you can see, you can break it in pieces. If I enter a challenge where I've asked for one thing and the horse pushed or pulled, then my job is to fix it. How do I ask for the right amount so that we can have harmony between us? The horse says, yeah, I can do that. Now, I really believe you haven't succeeded until the horse feels better. So if you've asked for a backup, they need to both do the backup and then feel better. Use their sensory system in a way where they're in harmony with you. This is how we reestablish that we've fixed the problem. We've conquered the challenge. Maybe we can't ask the horse to back up in this environment, but could we do half of it and find harmony? So this is something that I go through with my students, and this is how we enter a challenge with our horse. We understand that maybe it's too much of a challenge if we can't improve it. And then we say, how do I make it better? How do I fix it? How do I repair this relationship? In psychology, they talk a lot about rupture and repair. This is how trust is built. You can't really trust a relationship if it can't repair. So what happens if you just never ask for anything that might cause a push and a pull? This is an option also. But the problem is, in real life, challenges will occur whether you plan them or not. So, the wind blows really hard and something gets knocked over in the wind and scares your horse and they push into you, okay? You didn't cause it. Life caused it. But it's still a challenge because of the push that happened. Now, if you can read the future, you would no longer be standing in that spot when they got scared, so that there was nothing for them to push into. If you're really good at your feel and your timing, you're just always in the right place at the right time. And you don't get into those push-pull situations unless you know how to fix them. Now, for the most of us, we're not going to be that perfect. And so because we're not that perfect, we're going to end up stumbling into some push-pull situation where the horse is trying to get away from us or trying to push into us. Then we've got to think, what's half of that? If they can't do half of that, what's half of that? If they can't do half of that, what's half of that? How do I set them up for success? Make sure they use their sensory system after they've succeeded, and then have some harmony with them so they can remember our successes together. Now, a lot of the time, I just teach people to go after successes because we want an 80% rate of life is pretty easy. Harmony is pretty easy to find. The sensory system is fun to use. We like doing things together. We're going to go for about 80% of our relationship that looks like that. But about 20% of our relationship, I encourage people to find challenges that cause a little push or pull, where maybe you've asked for a few too many steps of backup and now the horse is pushing into you. Maybe you rocked their neck a few too many times and now they're pulling away from you. Maybe you stood in the wrong place for too long, the wind blew, your horse got scared, and now you have to repair the relationship after it. These are the places where you build the most trust with your horse, where something a little bit difficult happens, and then you reset and you fix it. Maybe even you fix it before you have to reset. But these have an unbelievable amount of power to bond you and your horse together and to build trust. Can you build trust if you just avoid all the challenges? Yeah, you can, but I think it takes a lot longer. So when we train in freedom, it's a pretty slow training method anyway. If you really, really, really avoid challenges, any situation where the horse is going to push or pull, you're going to make that training even slower. So this is where we got to talk about what is a challenge, what does it look like, how do we fix it, how do we repair the relationship when there's a loss of harmony between the horse and the human. Elena Jane says, love this, Elsa, so appropriate for working with my foal to work on the backup. Yeah. So when you're working with any horse, but particularly foals because they're so impressionable, really what you want to think about is, where do we rest? Because rest is when the memories are really stored in the brain and the body. And if you can just make an effort to rest after successes, your relationship is really strong in its memory of successes, and the body tends to repeat what it remembers. It's not that you're never going to have a failure. It's not that you're never going to have a challenge. I think if you're a really good trainer, you plan your challenges. You set yourself up to fail a little bit in a way where you know you can succeed. You can fail your horse a little bit, ask a little bit too much, put them in a position where they feel like they need to push or pull, and then repair it. So those are my thoughts on challenges. I teach a really specific pattern with how to work through your positive, easy moments, and then how to work through your challenges and how to balance that with easy movements. But when you have a halter on or a bridle on, you're going to find that the balance isn't so careful because your horse can't leave. They have to stay with you. I really encourage everybody to spend some time working with their horses in freedom, because that's really going to show you what is the balance your horse would choose. If you force them into situations where there's a lot of push and a lot of pull, you're going to find that they don't want to stay working with you. And if you never, ever get in any situations where there's any push or pull, you're going to find that your relationship doesn't have a lot of strength when life's natural stresses come up. So I wish we could organize life so there were never any big stressors in life, but we all know that's not really possible. And so challenges prepare you for that. Challenges prepare you for all the parts of life you can't really plan for. But we can plan the practice that makes your relationship stronger. So I hope that is helpful to you guys. I'm going to continue exploring it. I head home on Friday, and then I will dive into this with my own horses for a couple of weeks before I head off to Australia for the next tour. I will keep trying to do Tuesday tea times. Sometimes it gets pushed to Wednesday if the teaching schedule is not as accommodating as I hope. But I will look forward to seeing you all for tea time next week. Let me know if there's any subjects or questions that come up from hearing me talk and working with your horses and wanting to know more. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.